Okay. Very good morning to my lecturer, Miss Grace, and my fellow friends. Today, my group and I are going to share our analysis on the topic of the benefits of labor migration. Before I start, let me introduce myself. My name is Dinesh Kumar. My group mates, this is Kare Sharan, this is Sen Cheng, and the last one is Go Kim Wei. Okay, let's look into the introduction first. Firstly, labor migration is defined as the movement of person from one state to another or within their own country of residence for the purpose of employment. In 2017, migrant workers accounted for 164 million of the world's approximately 258 million international migrants. Migrant workers contribute to growth and development in their countries of destination, while countries of origin greatly benefit from their remittance and the skills acquired during their migration experience. Most populous nation in the world, namely India and China, and many Asian countries are still in a phase of strong population growth with a large pool of young people. Even this trend is slowly down, or as in the case of Singapore and China, Thailand has come to an end. Then next, I'll pass my slides to Sen Cheng.
And okay, my name is Shao Shenchen. I'm from the finance program in UH. Now I'm going to introduce the first benefit bring by the labor migration, which is increase in the foreign exchange income. According to the research from the University of California, in the next few decades, the population growth in developing countries will far exceed than the expected population decline in developed countries. So some developing countries with underdeveloped industries and insufficient employment opportunity has curbed poverty by implementing policies that encourage the residents to work abroad. Next slide. So before the labor immigration is booming, the developing countries rely on large amount of exporting raw materials and agricultural products to maintain its trade balance. Many items which is necessary for the national economy and people's livelihood have to be exported. So the development of the labor migration can change the structure of the export commodities, which is conducive to the national economy, people's livelihood, and the development of the country's economy. Nowadays, the foreign exchange income of some developing countries in the world from the labor migration, the amount is more than 10% of its total value of commodity exports. There are many countries, for example, Pakistan. Pakistan's foreign exchange income from labor migration accounted for 46% of its total foreign exchange income in the beginning of the 21st century, and Turkey's average annual foreign exchange income from the labor immigration reached 10 billion USD dollar, accounting for around 30% of its total foreign exchange income in Turkey. So the labor remittance increase foreign exchange income, thereby to help the country to solve the problem of poverty for the developing countries. Now, the international labor migration has a direct and indirect effect on the economic growth. The money earned by the migrant worker will be sent back to his original country. The foreign exchange income brought by the labor migration is an important part of the GDP. The labor immigrants tends to expand the labor force, thereby promoting the overall growth of the GDP. And because all the labor immigrants will inevitably have to consume in the local country, and those commodities originally used for exporting will be consumed in the country as well. So as a result, developing countries will encourage their nationals to go out to work abroad, so that the labor immigrants will bring a lot of foreign exchange income back to the country, help them to solve the problem of poverty. So that's all for me. I'm going to pass to the next presenter.
Thank you, Sencheng. So now I'm going to talk about curb labor shortages. Every economy ability to compete depends on a steady supply of human capital and talent. When that supply is inadequate, imbalance result, creating serious threats not only to the economy but also to social and political stability and future development. This impact, moreover, extends beyond borders. For instance, in Korea, they faced was labor shortages in sector like manufacturing and agriculture. To help address this, the government put together an employment permit system comprising the government agreement with 15 Asian countries. The system allows temporary labor migration for unskilled and semi-skilled occupation. Held together by a robust administrative system, employment permit provides counseling service for workers and ensure their minimum wages in the same as that of domestic workers. In the case of Malaysia, Malaysia's economy has shifted enormously over the past decades, focusing less on agriculture and increasingly on services and industry. And it is foreign workers that have filled the demand for low-skilled workers. A study found that while workers from foreign countries have different demographic from their Malaysian counterparts, they were younger and less educated. There was no evidence that foreign workers had a negative impact on the country's overall productivity. Therefore, many European studies shows that migration plays an important role in improving labor market efficiency. All sectors with job avoided native, for example, dirty, difficult, and dangerous job, low paid household services job, sector with strong seasonal fluctuation, example like farming, road repair and construction, hotel, restaurant, and other tourism related services depend heavily on supply of migrant labor. In the absence of migrant workers, the sectors will probably face serve shortages of labor or sharp increases in labor cost. Also, many countries have been witnessing the movement of their own workforce from these industries into urban areas and in more service-oriented industries. These countries included Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, China, Thailand, and Malaysia, who are facing the most acute shortages in this regard. Their industry have become increasingly depend on foreign labor. That's all from me. Next, I'll pass my slides to Karish.
Thank you, Dinesh. Today, I'm going to talk about economic growth for both receiving and host countries. One of the major advantages of labor migration to a host country is that helps boost the country's economic growth. When migrants send home part of their earnings in the form of either cash or goods to support their families, these transfers are known as workers or migrant remittances. As of 2018, remittance flows to these countries reached 350 billion, surpassing foreign direct investment, portfolio investment, and foreign aid as the single most important source of income from abroad. Such remittances can be important economic resources, especially to developing countries. Remittance flows into these nations are more than 3 times that of official development aid. According to a 2016 World Bank report, they also tend to be more stable than other kinds of external capital flows, such as private investment or development aid. Studies have shown that remittances can reduce the depth and severity of poverty in developing countries, and that they are associated with increased household spending on health, education, and small business. Next slide, bro. However, many of the countries in Asia have very strict migration policies which only increases barriers such as costly and lengthy recruitment processes. Restrictive quotas on the number of foreign workers allowed in a country and rigid employment policies constrain workers' employment options and impact their welfare. But that does not mean that Malaysian or other receiving countries do not absorb the economic benefits. According to the World Bank, easing restrictions on labor migration can boost workers' welfare and deepen regional economic integration and meet our economic needs. If Malaysia can address the economic needs by revising current levy system and deepening coordination with sending countries, the World Bank estimates that a 10% net increase in the low-skilled immigrant workers will raise Malaysia's real GDP by 1.1%. Therefore, both hosts and developing can all benefit from labor migration. Moving on to the disadvantages of labor migration by Goh Kim Wei.
Okay, thank you, Karish. I'm Goh Kim Wei and I'm going to elaborate the benefits of labor migrant to the human capital development. Human capital here refers to the labor's competencies such as knowledge, skills, and credentials acquired through their entire career. Human capital has an economic value itself and is considered as an asset to the business. Well, you might be confused when I mention asset, as the assets we know are things like cash, inventory, and also machines, but we have forgotten the most significant problem here, which is who are the one managing the cash, who are the one controlling those machines, and who are the one making the investments. The answer is us, human. Bill Gates once quoted, Microsoft's only factory asset is human imagination, and this proves that human workforce are irreplaceable in the economic sector. Therefore, beneficial part of human capital development from labor migrant is important to the country that have a shortage in labor workforce. Next slide. First of all, this is the statistic of the distribution of migrant workers in 2017. As we can see, both of the largest sector of the pie chart have most of the developed country as labor immigrants prefers developed country like United States and Norway because they will have a better employment opportunity and also self-development since they might gain extra knowledge such as technological knowledge. Based on the statistic, in 2017, there are approximately 52.48 million workers are migrated into Europe's workforce. According to the study of OECD, also known as Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, immigrants represented 47% of the increase in the workforce in the US and 70% in Europe for the past decades. All right, next slide. The immigrants are filling labor's needs by taking up jobs regarded by domestic workers as unattractive or lacking career prospect. For an example, do you ever seen local Malaysian working in a construction site? But the immigrants domestic opportunities of development and no one is going to do hard work so the immigrants may overcome the labor. Almost 45% of high-skilled Asian immigrants have completed their tertiary education and only 24% are considered poorly educated, which contributed for foreign countries' human capital development. Next slide. However, there is always another side of the coin. Labor migration might bring negative impact to the economy also, such as salary inequality. Salary inequality here refers to the difference in the salary between domestic workers and the immigrants. Salary inequality amongst employees may lead to employee dissatisfaction and often result in an ultimatum. What should the business do is practice equality. Say for an example, the company are advised to reduce the margin of the basic salary of the similar job designation and avoid discrimination towards immigrants. Last but not least, moderate employment opportunities for workers with secondary school qualifications. Labor with low credentials are more likely to be unemployed due to the intense competition from immigrants. Since every boss wants a competent employee, it might cause the non-competent labor to lose their jobs. Hence, the company may diverse the job scope and allows workers with low qualification to work. By practicing this, not only the productivity level will be increased, but also decreasing the overall unemployment rate in the country. And I'll pass the next slide to Tinish.
Thank you, Goh Kim Wei. Okay, for the conclusion, labor immigration is essential in today's economy as there will always a demand for foreign labor because they are cheap and vast. The reality of immigration and its benefit to the economy. It is not matched by a shift in attitude towards foreigners who settle in the country, To ensure the freer flow of labor within the the region, which is critical for its economic prosperity. It is crucial that government creates policies and programs that facilitate flow of skilled labor and fair, competitive labor market for foreign workers. But that also make the case for a more open migration policy more publicly and more forcefully than they have done so far. They benefit the rich and the poor, developed and the developing countries. It is safe to say that foreign labor is worth having as benefit easily outweigh the cons according to our analysis. So that's all from us. Thank you, Miss.
Thank you, Miss.
Thank you, Miss.